This is the story of the Seven Kingdoms. This is the forgotten golden age of the Philippines. The birth of the Seven Kingdoms. The Philippine archipelago, composed of more than 7,000 islands, was once a canvas where diverse cultures painted their identities. Geography created separation, but the sea united them. Ancient Filipinos were not landlocked villagers. They were seafarers, skilled navigators, builders of swift boats that danced with the waves. From this maritime world emerged seven great kingdoms, including Tondo, Namayan, Maay, Butuan, Cebu, Panay's Kadatuan of Majaaz, and Sulu. Though each kingdom was distinct, they shared an interconnected civilization shaped by trade, diplomacy, and cultural exchange. Their origins lie deep in the Austronesian expansions thousands of years earlier, but by the first millennium CE, they had transformed into organized polities with rulers, aristocrats, warrior classes, merchant guilds, and spiritual elites. These were not isolated tribes, they were nations. The kingdoms grew powerful because they understood the sea. They understood that controlling trade meant controlling wealth, and trade, more than anything, fueled their rise. Trade winds of empires. At the heart of pre-colonial Philippine power was its strategic location. The islands sat directly on the maritime Silk Route, connecting China, India, the Malay world, and even the Middle East. When the monsoon winds shifted, so did the flow of merchants. Chinese junks arrived bringing porcelain bowls, celadon jars, silk robes, and metal tools. Indian traders introduced beads, Hindu-Buddhist symbolism, precious textiles, and ritual objects. Arab merchants carried incense, metalworks, and the seeds of Islam. In return, the kingdoms of the Philippines sent out what the world desired. Gold, so abundant that foreign chroniclers wrote of it with awe. Beeswax, used in temples, and metal casting pearls and tortoiseshell. Prized across Asia, exquisite native cloth, woven with ritual precision. Forest resins, essential for ancient perfumes. Rice, fish, and crafted ornaments, symbols of everyday prosperity. By the 10th century, the kingdom of Maay, located in Mindoro, was already mentioned in Chinese dynastic records as a respected trading partner. Butuan, in Mindanao, became famous for its large boats and its demand for gold. Tondo, in the northern Luzon region, controlled rich river routes flowing into Manila Bay. The sea lanes of Southeast Asia were crowded with kingdoms, but the Philippine polities held a special role. They were reliable, skilled, and resource-rich. Their influence reached far beyond their shores. These kingdoms were not passive receivers of foreign culture. They were active participants, shaping the region's economy with ambition and intelligence. The world of ancient artistry. To understand the heart of these kingdoms, we must look at their art. Pre-colonial Filipinos were master craftsmen. They carved gold with astonishing precision, creating death masks, jewelry, necklaces, and ritual objects that even modern artisans struggled to replicate. Gold was not merely wealth. It was a conversation with the divine, a language of status and spirituality. Ceramics, too, reflected their mastery. Local potters crafted vessels for cooking, storage, rituals, and trade. Across the islands, different pottery traditions carried unique styles, geometric markings, incised designs, and symbolic shapes passed down through centuries. Textile weaving was another world of artistry. Using backstrap looms, weavers produced vibrant fabrics dyed with natural pigments. These textiles were more than garments. They were indicators of rank, heritage, and tribal identity. Music and dance thrived as well. Gongs, bamboo flutes, drums, and zithers accompanied rituals and communal gatherings. Every piece of art, every sound, every woven thread carried meaning. Even warfare had an artistic signature. Crisp blades, campellan swords, and intricately carved shields were decorated with flowing patterns that reflected mythology and identity. These weapons were both tools of war and masterpieces of craftsmanship. The kingdoms expressed themselves not through written chronicles, but through art that lived in their hands, their rituals, and their daily lives. The Baybayin script, a literate society. One of the most remarkable features of pre-colonial civilization was its writing system, Baybayin. Graceful, curved, and rhythmic, Baybayin was a syllabic script used across Luzon and Visayas. It allowed ancient Filipinos to write letters, record transactions, inscribe poems, and express personal messages. When the Spaniards first arrived, they were shocked to discover a population where literacy was common. Men and women alike could write using Baybayin. This is critical because many people today mistakenly assume that pre-colonial Philippines had no writing system. In truth, the opposite is true. Writing was widespread. Messages were carved on bamboo, written on leaves, or inked onto palm strips. Baybayin was not a script of kings alone. It belonged to the people. Though the coming centuries would nearly erase it, its legacy remains one of the clearest proofs that ancient Filipinos had an intellectual culture rooted in communication and creativity. The social structure, a complex civilization. To thrive for 9 centuries, the 7 kingdoms needed order, and they built it through a well-defined social hierarchy. At the top were the datus, the rulers who governed their domains and represented their people. Above them, in larger kingdoms, sat lakan or raja figures who united multiple communities under a single political authority. Below them were the maharlika, the warrior nobility class. They served as protectors, advisors, and enforcers of the kingdom's laws and traditions. Their bravery in battle earned them prestige. Next came the timawa, free men who engaged in farming, fishing, trading, and boat building. This class formed the backbone of society. They possessed rights, land, and personal independence. At the lower end of society were the alipin, a term often misunderstood today. These individuals were not slaves in the European sense. They could own property, earn freedom, and even rise to higher classes. Their roles varied, from household work to agricultural labor, and they were protected by customary laws. Social mobility was real. A man who demonstrated bravery, leadership, or economic success could rise from timawa to datu. A woman could inherit property, lead negotiations, or serve as a babaylan, a spiritual authority whose power rivaled that of kings. This structure reveals a civilization built on balance, authority supported by loyalty, economy supported by labor, and culture supported by ritual. Spirituality and the Babaylan tradition. No kingdom survives without belief. Ancient Filipinos saw the world as a living landscape inhabited by spirits, ancestors, and deities. Their spirituality was deeply intertwined with nature. The rivers, mountains, forests, and seas were sacred. Central to this world were the Babaylan, healers, shamans, spiritual guides, and keepers of tradition. Babaylan were often women, and among the few societies of the ancient world, the Philippines gave these women immense spiritual and cultural authority. A Babaylan communicated with the spirit world, performed healing rituals, presided over ceremonies, interpreted dreams, and guided the community through crises. Their influence was so profound that early foreign chroniclers often mistook them for priests or prophets. The kingdoms respected the Babaylan not only for their spiritual role, but also for their knowledge of herbal medicine, midwifery, psychology, and community leadership. This spiritual dimension helped unify the people, giving meaning to their customs, governance, and daily lives. Life in the kingdoms. To truly understand these ancient societies, imagine a coastal community along Manila Bay, Butuan River, or Panay's shores. Houses made of bamboo and nipa rise over the water on sturdy stilts. Canoes glide between settlements. Fishermen cast nets at dawn. Traders prepare goods for foreign merchants. Weavers sit at looms, creating fabrics of remarkable color. Goldsmiths hammer delicate patterns into ornaments. Children play along the shore. Warriors train with spears and shields. The atmosphere is lively, not primitive. It is a world of industry, creativity, and peace punctuated by occasional rivalries. Food is plentiful: rice, fish, root crops, fruits, and meat. The people celebrate with feasts, dances, and rituals. Society thrives with cooperation and shared identity. Every aspect of life, from the design of boats to the layout of homes, shows harmony with nature, ingenuity, and skill. The golden connections, diplomacy, and power. Far from being isolated island communities, the Seven Kingdoms were active players in regional politics. Kings sent envoys to China to establish official trade relations. Some rulers married into neighboring royal families. Others formed alliances to protect trade routes. Peace pacts, called Sandugo in later centuries, were used to build trust. These diplomatic exchanges elevated the kingdom's status, giving them recognition across Asia. Records from Chinese imperial courts, Arabian traders, and Southeast Asian chroniclers describe Filipino rulers as capable, wealthy, and respected. The rise and fall of the age. As centuries passed, the Seven Kingdoms evolved. Some expanded their influence, others faced internal challenges or external pressures. Trade boomed, culture flourished, and population grew. But new powers also emerged in the region: Javanese empires, Islamic sultanates, and later European ambitions. The arrival of Islam reshaped the southern kingdoms, giving rise to the sultanates of Sulu and Maguindanao.